Hey everybody, it's GauntletX and welcome to the Edge of Eternities Arena Open Day 2 Draft number 1. This is next on the road to potential cash prizes here up to $2,000. You have to get through the Arena Open Day 1 to qualify for Day 2. That is a best of 1 sealed event. You need to get 7 wins before 3 losses. You can check out how we did on that. Obviously, we got our 7 wins in yesterday's video. But as for now, we're playing best of 3 draft. We're going to play 4 rounds of it, no matter how well we do. And if we win 3 or more rounds, we're qualified for Day 2 draft number 2, where those cash prizes are finally on the line. So a very competitive event here. It is qualification only as well. So the only people in these drafts are people that already got a 7-win run during that day 1 sealed event. So a highly competitive event where we are drafting and playing against a bunch of highly competitive players. With that whole spiel out of the way, let's just hop into the draft and see where the cards take us today. All right, well, here we are for our pack 1, pick 1, and we get the strongest mythic in the entire set. It's got some competition. It's between this and the blue mythic. That's like a 5-mana 4/5 flyer, draws you a card when you play it, and you can warp it and draw a card with it earlier, and it draws you cards if you have 1 or less cards in hand when you go to your draw step. That mythic's also pretty busted, but this one is really, really nasty. The turn you play it, if your opponent doesn't have instant speed removal for it, you're guaranteed to get some value out of it, putting a counter on your whole board. And if they don't kill it in the next turn cycle, killing it with some sorcery speed removal when you pass back to them, then you have 3 +1/+1 counters on your board by the time this attacks, because it puts a counter on itself. And then that next turn, it's putting 2 counters onto everybody else. So again, that's a total of 3 onto everything that was around with it on the first turn. Busted card. Easily the pick here. The only issue with Ouroboroid is it is in the most contested color in the whole set. Green is widely agreed to be the strongest color in the set. It just has the deepest commons and some of the best rares like Ouroboroid and stuff. So we could get cut off of green. And that could be really awkward for us because when you have one of the literal strongest cards in the entire set, it is almost objectively correct to kind of just force the color. So we can end up in a position where we're like forcing green and also getting cut off of green at the same time and end up with a ton of filler in our deck. So we really, really want to find a secondary color here that is wide open. So we want to try really hard to find the most open secondary color if we can. For pick 2, we have Botanist, again, just to force green and make sure we're getting a very solid on-color playable. If we want to take the highest power level card in the pack, we take Mouth of the Storm here, which is good when you ramp into it off of some landers early. But Botanist is honestly not that much worse in terms of power level for its respective mana costs, and it guarantees we get a really solid on-color playable here. So I'm going to go Botanist over the Mouth of the Storm here. Pick 3, we get a very reasonable green rare, the Sledge class Siege Ship. The reason this is so reasonable is because most of these Elvish Piper type effects are attached to like a 1/1 creature that just doesn't matter, but this is attached to a 4/5 flyer. The other thing that's really nice about it is because it's a spacecraft that you're stationing, it's a lot harder for your opponent to interact with this before it gets that trigger that puts out your card onto the board, because usually it's going to be the kind of thing where like the turn you fully station it, it's immediately attacking and plopping something out. So Siege Ship's a lot better than I thought it would be initially, to where I think it is better than the other green cards for sure. Probably the best card in the pack. Biggest competition is probably like Virus Beetle or one of these medium kind of spacecraft there in the other colors. Pick 4, there's nothing in green, but Kill Ship does play pretty nice in the green decks because you have the ramp towards it, and green is the best at stationing these spacecraft because it has a bunch of just really massive commons, a lot of like 5-mana 5/5 type creatures, 4-mana 4/4. So Kill Ship would be really reasonable, but we can alternatively just take the best off-color removal with Depressurize here. It's like a Seam Rip, except it can also kill a bunch of higher mana value stuff too, whereas Seam Rip only kills the small stuff. Pain for All is also reasonable, but you do have to have a creature on board to cast it. So like, I think a little less than Depressurize. I think it really is Depressurize or Pinnacle Kill Ship for me here. Bonder's Enclave. If we have good enough mana, can sit there and draw on cards when we're flooding out. So actually Bonder's Enclave is also pretty nice. I'll go for that here. Germinating Worm is incredible with spacecraft like the Siege Ship, so I do like that. One of the things I do want to mention about not taking the Kill Ship last pack is one of the reasons to pass up on it, even though it's a pretty decent card, is it's not the kind of card you can run a bunch of copies of. Like, it's a very fine card to run 1 or 2 of in your green decks, but it's not something I think you need to take really early because the more copies you have of it, the worse it gets, because you just can't flood your deck with that many 7-drops. So We'll take the Germinating Worm. Also, Spacecraft, or another one of those card type that it's like, not only can you not play a bunch of 7-drops with the kill ship, you also can't play too many Spacecraft, because you have to have the critical mass of like big creatures to station the Spacecraft. You can't have like a 6 Spacecraft deck and expect to reasonably keep stationing them. Really solid draft bot for us, it looks like. The most reasonable cards in this pack are green, or like a decent white removal spell, but we're still seeing plenty of good green here, pick 6. I think green, again, just has tons of like 5 mana, 5/5 style creatures like these two that are pretty filler, pretty replaceable. So I'm going to go for the Biosynthetic Burst here. There's a lot less when it comes to like counter spells for removal that you can get in the color. Might be green-white here. Halia is a very powerful reason to go for the green-white +1/+1 counter deck. Maybe have found our secondary color here. Certainly the highest upside card to take here. It is one of the riskier ones. It requires double white, so we're not exactly going to splash this off some random lander tokens like we could with Nebula Dragon. So this will be the safest pick here, but this is certainly much stronger if we do end up in green-white counters than Nebula Dragon if we're in just like green lander tokens the deck. So we'll take Halia here. Solid sign that green-white in particular is open, even if green or white themselves as a color might not be individually open. Even in green-white, Weftblade Enhancer is like just reasonable, whereas Biosynthetic Burst is gonna be good in green-white, and also good if we get cut off of white. This has similar issues to Spacecraft, though. You don't want to run a 5 combat trick deck, so the second Biosynthetic Burst is quite a bit worse than the first one, but still I think better than Weftblade Enhancer, taking the off-color card. It plays pretty fun with Ouroboroid. Had some counters to that. Pick 9 is unfortunately a pack where there's really nothing all that playable. Even if we were in these colors, we'd be pretty sad if we end up running some filler Sentinel or Skittermaw or Scourge for Eternity or something, or Scrounge for Eternity. Sure, Sentinel's probably the most reasonable card there. Pick 10. Starport Security is perfectly fine in green-white because you get that cost reduction on it. Pretty filler, but so is the whole pack, and that's a color we'd really like to potentially end up in. Pick 11, all filler. Litho Breaking is the best if we end up in red. That's a great sideboard option against a really aggressive deck. Pick 12, Hexproof Trick, I guess. We end up in blue, and Lux Knight Breacher, quite filler, but playable filler if we do end up in that green-white counters deck. And pack 2, pick 1 shows us an Esteli Reclaimer. A 5 mana 5/4 flyer is already just good in the set. Flyers play pretty well. If you get any value off the edge of the battlefield effect, it's very good. There's a couple different ways to do that. Most consistent way to do that is to play some good spacecraft, like the Sledge class Seed Ship, because these we can turn them into creatures. Once they're creatures, our opponent kind of has to kill them, or we can trade off with them. That's a pretty easy way to have a non-creature, non-land permanent in your graveyard. The less consistent, but potentially more powerful way would be if we're playing removal spells like Banishing Light, if we can surveil those into our grave, or if our opponent uses removal spells on our Banishing Lights, then this can reanimate a Banishing Light from our grave to the board. But I think this is going to be really nice in here with just a few random spacecraft. Even without spacecraft, it's just a solid stat line for the cost. Pick 2's pretty bad. We have a couple of reasonable black commons, Depressurize or Virus Beetle. We could take a Nutrient Block just because it synergizes with the Reclaimer, or we could just take Radiant Strike for the best on-color removal, but it's more of that filler level removal. Not the best pack ever. Virus Beetle and Depressurize definitely the best cards, but I think I'm pretty happy to try to be sticking to white here, so I'll take Radiant Strike there. Pick 3, Larval Scoutlander is wonderful. Fatemaker has some good synergy for specifically a green-white counters deck, but Scoutlander, just beautiful, beautiful ramp. Another Spacecraft as well to end up in our graveyard for our Esteli Reclaimer, potentially, which is obviously some synergy there, too. Yeah, I'll go for a Scoutlander here. Pick 4. Galactic Wayfarer looks beautiful. I like Frenzied Baloth, but it tends to be the kind of card you play on like turn 4. You can double 2-drop, play the Baloth, and you're a 2-mana white creature. It's not really coming down turn 2 that often. The value you get from the Wayfarer just off the ETB is excellent. Engineering can be really good over the course of a long game, but it's much better in lander token heavy decks. This green-white deck is not really one of those, especially when we have no landers without the Wayfarer. Wayfarer is just a great card in everything. I like taking that here. Harmonious Grove Strider topping off our curve a little bit. Just a gigantic 5-drop. This can single-handedly station a scout land or a siege ship in the late game if we have 7 lands on board, which is really nice. So we're really just looking for more filler 2-mana creatures at this point, I think, so we can flood the board before an Ouroboroid. But Grove Strider finishing off the top end of our curve looks nice. Yeah, we just want interaction and cheap creatures, and we'll have a really reasonable deck. Pick number 6. We have a nutrient block to go with a Stelly Reclaimer, or some very bad equipment. Or we go off color here and take Hole Carver. I mean, I don't think white is all that open. Green-white is clearly open with that late Halia, but the other white spells we've taken have been early or bad, so maybe we're supposed to be speculating on black here, moving into the color, but I'm just going to stick to what we're doing, grab a nutrient block for the Reclaimer. That might come back to bite us. Germinating Worm's great with our spacecraft, but again, with Ouroboroid, we really want to be curving into that, and I currently am very low on the cheap creatures. Tenderfoot is much worse than Germinating Worm, but I have a lot of 5-mana plays right now, so I think it's better in this deck with the way that our mana curve is right now with 5 5-drops already. Or, sorry, 4 5-drops already to take a 2-drop there. This pack's bad for us. We take Sammy's Curiosity. This pack's bad for everybody except Black. Beamsaw Prospector's okay there. Mechanizoa's okay in blue too, but they're just getting okay cards. Pick 9. Nothing for anybody. These cards are all very bad. The only one that's somewhat exciting maybe would be Mechanizoa, so we'll just hate that. Pick 10. Another pretty mid pack. We'll take the Lux Knight Breacher. And here's where you really feel that you are in an arena open draft, is the good cards do dry up quite a bit in the second half of the packs for pretty much all the colors. Technically, we're drafting with both traditional draft players and arena open players, but traditional draft is not the most popular draft formats, and there are tons of people in the arena open day 2, so I would guess at least half the players in every draft pod right now are arena open drafters. Because premier drafters don't get mixed up into this queue, and that's the most popular draft format. This is fierce competition. There's Starfield Shepherd. I already have tons of 5s, but this card is really, really good. It can pick up a security and a planes throughout the game. But there's a Focus Fire, and I'm quite low on interaction. I have 1 Radiant Strike and then a pretty bad Thaumaton Torpedo. I think I'm low enough on interaction. I actually have to take Focus Fire over Shepherd, which is painful, but I really don't have removal. So I'm going to grab that cheap, incredible removal that Focus Fire gives us. Pack 3, pick 2, Gene Pollinator's a real good early play, fixing our mana, ramping us up. That is a beautiful, beautiful card here. There's also Use Social Engineering, which can take over a long game, or a much more mediocre removal spell than Focus Fire with Radiant Strike. But we are still definitely in the market for removal. So, fierce competition here. All of these are very reasonable picks. Pollinator, Strike, and Engineering. I think I'm going to go Pollinator because our curve is so top heavy right now. We don't have a lot of good early plays. Being able to get to those 4s and 5s earlier will be very helpful. Pick 3. There's another removal spell with Melt Strider's Resolve. Can't really play it till later once we have like a good creature on board, but once we do, it's very efficient removal and can kill basically anything when you've got a random piece of green beef out. Pick 4. I'm happy to take a 3-drop over a Chrome Companion because it's such a bad 2-drop. I like Thawbringer for its ability to station spacecraft well. We have multiple 7 counter requiring spacecraft here, so I think I take Thawbringer over the Coordinator. Pick 5, very lucky pack here. I do still need removal, but Night Luminary helps us a lot, giving us something filler to do at 2 mana, and also another good 4-drop, so it kind of fits 2 slots on our mana curve. It's 3 creatures off 1 spell. Night Luminary is a very, very good card, and worth being a little bit low on removal to take it. Another Night Luminary is beautiful. Happy to take that, and our curve is almost perfect now off of that Luminary. This final pack has really helped us out here with these last few additions to make sure we actually have some early plays. We even get a pick 7 Banishing Light, so taking the Luminaries over Radiant Strike style removal does even work out in the end. We get the removal 2 alongside them. Wonderful. Pack number 3 for us, really fixing this deck up. I think I want triple Lux Knight Breacher. Might play Chrome Companion for more 2-drops at that point. The Luminaries are also very good with Ouroboroid. The more creatures you have on board, the more value you're getting off of the triggers with Ouroboroid. Okay, we're going to get plenty of Chrome Companions, looks like. Yeah, we really are just going to take a Chrome Companion out of every pack and then cut all of them. Another Lux Knight Breacher. I think it'd be crazy to run 4-drops. We have Scoutlander, Pollinator, and Wayfarer. I guess these Luminaries are also 4-drops. Yeah, I probably actually am cutting some Breachers then, for sure. Cut a Breacher over a Coordinator, at least, because these Spacecraft, while I am like playing them on turn 3, aren't like attacking or blocking on that turn. So having at least like 3 different cards I can play that can actually attack or block on 3 is good. Yeah, I feel like I'm cutting like a Breacher or 2, definitely at least 2 Companions. Let's see what else. Only need to cut a few more cards. We've got 1 rare land in this deck, so we're at 28 non-land cards. We want to be at 23. I'm on 17 creatures right now. 17 creatures and 2 spacecraft for them to station. I want to cut mostly non-creature spells then, but I could still cut a couple creatures and be fine. This is not a rampy enough deck for Sammy's Curiosity. We need our ramp to be just attached to bodies like Wayfarer and Pollinator are, and Scoutlander are. And then we still have 3 pieces of ramp, even only running the ramp that again comes with bodies attached. 3 more cuts to go. Very tempted to keep Nutrient Block in here because of how cute it is with a Stellar Reclaimer, but anytime that I have creatures that I could play to the board instead, I'm going to be doing that. And while this is something I can tap for the Gene Pollinator, so are 1/1 tokens and 2/2s and 2/1s that aren't going to get in once our opponent plays a 2/3. So I think I'll have plenty Pollinator targets still. Regardless, I can tap Banishing Light to a Pollinator, tap Resolve to a Pollinator. And the other thing about the Nutrient Block is, yes, it gives me more Reclaimer synergy, but again, the stat line for the cost is already decent, and I actually have 2 Spacecraft that could end up in the graveyard for the Reclaimer, and a Meltstrider's Resolve that I think is pretty easy to end up in the grave as well, right? Because we do this, we fight something off, and then they're probably going to have to kill the creature, because I'd be casting this on a beefy creature. So they'll want to kill that creature eventually, and this will end up in the grave. That's a good card to reanimate with the Reclaimer. And then the Banishing Light as well could potentially end up in the grave if they have removal for it. So again, not a ton of synergies for Reclaimer, but a few even without the Nutrient Block. And that's just not what we want to be doing with our mana early at all. Really want to be playing to the board in this deck. Got all non-creatures so far, and I really like the rest of these. It's 4 removal spells and 2 very good combat tricks. Combat tricks that have synergy with Halia and Ouroboroid. So just cut the most filler creatures. We've got a lot of 5s here. Our worst 5 is Germinating Worm over these other ones, but it does play quite nicely with our Spacecraft, would be the argument against that. I don't have as many 4s, but Breacher's like a super filler 4-drop. 3 mana, Coordinator's pretty filler there, but again with the Spacecraft, in terms of 3 mana creatures that are immediately impacting the board, there's only 2 if I cut the Coordinator. And then 2 mana cards, Chrome Companions, just Terabad. But a lot more important to have a lot of 2s than a lot of 3s, 4s, or 5s. So that'd be the argument for keeping it. It's because 2-drops are more important. I think these are the worst creatures in the deck here. There's certainly other filler, like Starport Security, Tenderfoot. Generally pretty filler. I think Thawbringer's also usually pretty filler, but again, 2 7 power Spacecraft. This being able to half station one of them by itself is pretty nice. I think Thawbringer's better in this deck than a lot of others. I feel like Chrome Companion is just the worst of these cards by a lot. A 2/1 with just no relevant ability. Just want to play like one of the Breachers at least, probably. A little bit more 4 mana stuff. I like the Germinating Worm Spacecraft combo. If I cut 1 Breacher, 1 Companion, is that reasonable? Again, it's a bit of a high curve for what's supposed to be a pretty aggressive deck, but I think it looks pretty fine. We get to keep our strongest cards this way. We have a few pieces of fixing, a few pieces of ramp, I should specify. Maybe I just cut Double Breacher and just play the Companion. When we consider the Luminaries also being 4-drops, and then of course there's always the fact that you can cast 3 mana and 2 mana spells on turn 4, but you can't do it the other way around. Yeah, I mean, Breachers are basically just beef. We're talking about just beef. I think I have more efficient beef with Worm, Grove Strider. Thawbringer, even if it's low toughness, has the beef to be stationing for us. Biosynthetic Bursts are winning combats and turning things into beef. If our 3/3 gets a single counter and now it's a 4/4, I would classify that as beef at that point. God, Companion's just so normally bad, but Ouroboroid. More creatures to play early. Got one Breacher right now. And the final cut. Sorry, Companion, I think 2 mana, 2/1, no ability is just such a bad stat line. I'll play a Breacher over it. We have Spacecraft to use our beef on. Biosynthetic Bursts are great on beefier creatures, not very good on 2/1s. Not going to be the most aggressive ever, but we have a lot of explosive top end with Ouroboroid and then like good value plays with like Reclaimer 2-for-1s, Halia 2-for-1s. Seed Ship could blow up our opponent's face out of nowhere. If we get that stationed, then boom. In one turn, I could like cast a Grove Strider, station a Seed Ship, and then also put something out for free, which could be like, I don't know, a Breacher or a Thawbringer or something, but like in Magical Christmas Land, put out a Halia or a Reclaimer off of the attack for free. So that's another way to explosively just end a game out of nowhere. Just a double 5-drop on 5 thanks to Seed Ship. Technically, the Grove Strider doesn't like fully station the Seed Ship by itself, but say I go Seed Ship on 3 and then turn 4 I play some 2-drops or something. I'll only need 2 counters on the Seed Ship for a turn 5 Grove Strider or Germinating Worm to finish off the station. Or Reclaimer would also finish it off. Yeah, I think this deck has a lot going for it. Obviously, it's got one of the strongest mythics in the entire set, if not the strongest mythic in the entire set, so that's pretty huge. It has interaction it can use to try to keep its best threats around with double Biosynthetic Burst to protect the Ouroboroid and the Halia and the Reclaimer. It's got some interaction as well. It's got 4 pieces of removal and 2 combat tricks to try to get things off the board. It has other potential explosive lines. If we get a lucky hand with the Seed Ship, that could blow our opponent up out of nowhere. It's got some ramp to make sure we're hitting all these 4s and 5s with Pollinator, Scoutlander, and Wayfarer here. Yeah, it's got a little bit of everything. There is a decent chunk of filler creatures in this deck, like Flight Deck Coordinator, Lux Knight Breacher, Starport Security, stuff like that. So it's not like a 10 out of 10 S tier deck or anything, but I think by Arena Open draft standards, where about half the pod or something like that, we're not going to know the stats for sure, where a decent chunk of our draft pod are very competitive players that know all the best cards, you tend to get slightly weaker decks. So I think by Arena Open standards, this is quite solid. And even just in a regular Premier draft, I'd say this deck's probably a tiny bit above average. Again, not like a huge banger or anything, but above average for sure. I'm pretty excited about this one. Let's double check our mana base here. We're on 14 green symbols and 10 white symbols. Most of our early plays are green over white. I think we could go 9-7 in green's favor here with the numbers headed in that direction. There's only one card in the whole deck that needs double white. I guess there's 2. There's Reclaimer and Halia, but they're both 5 mana plays. When it comes to green, we need green to play Pollinator to fix our mana. We need green to play Scoutlander to fix our mana. We need green to play Wayfarer to fix our mana. And we also need double green slightly earlier with Ouroboroid on 4 over the white spells being both on 5. So it's either an 8-8 split or it's 9-7 in green's favor for sure. I think it's like Gene Pollinator. Quite tempted. Quite tempted to go 9-7 here. The argument against it is like if I'm ever not curving out because I'm stuck off a specific color, I'm kind of a bad spot. So we really want to be drawing both colors in the opener every hand anyway, and then using the green fixing to hit double green if I hit too many white sources or double white if I hit too many green sources, rather than using like the green fixing to get us to a second color that we're stuck on. The big thing I'm concerned about with going too heavy on green and too light on white is like having a Night Luminary stranded in hand is such a bummer because that's like clearing out our 2-drop and 4-drop from the hand. Like we really want to have white mana every time we have Night Luminary in hand, just immediately. I feel like almost any opening hand where we don't immediately have a green source in it is just like an auto mulligan, auto lose kind of hand though, but I could see mono green openers that are keepable. So I'm going to go 9-7 on it. It's, I think, the most debatable part of the deck building here. I don't know 100% if that's right, but I'm going to go for that. I guess one thing that is also debatable about the mana base is like, is Bonder's Enclave worth dropping a white source for? Like, is this deck better? It has 9 forests, 8 plains. No Bonder's Enclave. Enclave is a really nice backup plan if you're flooded out. But anytime you're not flooded out, then it is objectively worse than just like a plains here. Being a colorless mana does hinder us for sure. Like we've been talking about how important it is to hit double green and double white. But I think being a purely 2-color deck with only 4 double pip cards and a few ways to fix colors, I think it's worth running the Enclave, but we'll have to see. Maybe we will get punished for that in the end, but I think I'm calling it a mana base like that. That is certainly the most debatable part of the deck build, is the mana base, I would say. I think the creature curve here, the spells we put in, are about the best spells we can be running. Could see an argument again for running just some really bad Chrome Companions just because they're 2-drops, but outside of that, I think this deck looks very reasonable. Found a nice, solid build for it. We will call it a deck here, hop into the gameplay, and see how it does. All right, here we are for game 1 of round 1 on the play. Got that Night Luminary on 2, Scoutlander for ramp into Halia, Banishing Light for interaction, both of our colors, a definite keep here. Our opponent starts with a mulligan. Our opponent on the Yuna avatar and sleeves, very nice. Starting off with blue. We do hit a land drop immediately. I'm going to have to Scoutlander into white mana, though. We don't have the mana for everything in hand yet. Without double white. Double blue from our opponent. There's the Cryogen Relic to set up their draws for now. There's the double white. Now I don't have to Scoutlander, but I have nothing else to cast this turn anyway. So we'll thin some lands out of the deck and get this down. I think this hand would rather have triple white than triple green, so let's go sack a forest, get a plains forest here. I guess we're not getting to 8 mana though, and I've got a lot more green spells than white in the deck. So I could just go double forest here. I could just have triple of each. What am I talking about? Yeah, let's just have 3 of each. I am bad at numbers. The world will never know how I got cash in these arena opens before. Blue-red is going to be our opponent's deck here. Nothing this turn. They auto-pass. They could have a counterspell up here. That would be a little rough. I still feel like I just drop Halia to get the card draw going. I doubt it's Bombard. They pass through that fast to just like blow up Halia. If they don't have a spell yet, Halia is by far the best play. But Thawbringer half station the Scoutlander is very reasonable too. Don't get to double spell along with it. But I play around the counter unless they pay 2 if I play Thawbringer. I'm just going to go mana efficiency here. It is counter unless you pay 2. That's brutal. Thawbringer double station, get Scoutlander there. Let's hit the for damage here. We've got a 4-power and a 3-power creature. So we can station for 4 with this, station for 3 with that, and get that done just completely off of summoning sick creatures. Was not expecting counter unless you pay 2 from blue-red artifacts. But I guess they must just be on a much less aggressive build than normal. Alright, doing some digging, draw a card off the relic. Or plate pangolin. Alright, they just had an awkward opener, I guess. Double luminary it up. And that'll be the full station to jam in the sky. Very nice. Put them to 15 with a astronomically wide board and a removal spell for their most important blocker whenever they jam one out. I'm going to add the counter unless you pay 2 to my notepad for game 2 and 3. Now that we know that that is 100% the card they've got. I think going for Helia was probably a little greedy regardless. Not because it was super likely they had the counter there, but playing absolutely nothing means they were very likely to have like at least a Bombard or something. But they were already on a mulligan. They spent their first turn drawing a card. They had double blue to start, still needed this to draw into the red source. So I was playing in a way to where it's like, maybe it was like a begrudging keep of 6 and they just don't really have anything but to draw cards right now. Got Reclaimer if they kill Scoutlander. It's very nice. Somewhat likely to want to do that. Don't think I just jam down Reclaimer here, but it wouldn't be crazy because they are at 12 and it's a 5 power flyer. But I'm going to drop the Luminary and go wide here. I'm dropping Luminary over Thawbringer because I can double spell with Thawbringer on a future turn. No matter what we draw into. Mechan Assembler. Their first artifact each turn gives them a 2/2. And there it is, Nutrient Block. Not technically their first artifact each turn, their first after Mechan Assembler. Their first that triggers the Mechan Assembler gives them a 2/2. That's tons of blockers on the ground, but those are blockers on the ground. So, still just get in there with Scoutlander in the sky. Go Banishing Light plus Thawbringer here, or I can just hold up Biosynthetic Burst. I do want to Banishing Light their creature that's spitting out tokens every turn for sure. They're blue-red. Don't remember the board wipes well enough, but I don't think they could have one here outside of... I want to play Reclaimer plus Hold Up Burst. So that is actually fine. I can't think of any board wipes outside of the deal 2 to everybody right now. There's the 6 mana one where you have to have another spell in your hand to use it. That one's pretty bad, so I wouldn't expect that. It's like double red and 4, you put a high mana value card out and then deal damage equal to that card's mana value in your end step when you put it back into your hand. Something weird like that. Double Mechan Assembler. Okay, their deck is very good. Scary. Blue-red stuff, but they can't deal with flyers. They are still just dying to Scoutlander. So they're going to try to stun the Scoutlander. So we're just going to go no value Reclaimer here to have lethal in the sky next turn. Worth the chump attack here. So trade there. They kill 2 of these 1/1s, but I get in for an extra 2 damage. That hits them for 5, and they're at 4, which means they're dead to just Scoutlander if I burst it, and they're also dead to just Reclaimer. That's worth it, I think. 2 different lethal flying threats if I play it this way. I do get a Surveil here as well. I could burst. The trample is tempting. So now I'm hitting for 5 damage. If I trample over, I'm hitting for an additional 3. So I'm hitting for 8 and putting them to 1 life. but then I don't have protection for Scoutlander. But they're also at 1 life, facing 5 creatures. They've got the nutrient block. That's a little less appealing. Yeah, I forgot to pay attention to the nutrient block as a way they could get around 2-turn lethal. I think I allow this. And keep the burst for our flyers. There's also the chance, if I'm like insanely lucky, that Thawbringer sees our other spacecraft and then Reclaimer gets to reclaim that off of the hardcast here. But alas, we were not that lucky. I'm going to wait till the end step to Biosynthetic Burst, I think, because it does untap. So we get rid of the stun counter in the end step. Wait to see if they like try to permanently kill one of these first, so I have it to stop them from permanently killing one. But if I burst now, then they don't even get the stun counter. But again, it's kind of the same as if I just get rid of the stun counter in the end step. Because then Scoutlander untaps during our turn. Music's going a little weird here. It sounds like 2 different songs playing over each other to me. Yeah, it is 2 songs playing over each other. Okay. I'm gonna get distracted by that. We're in a competitive event. Ooh, a flying blocker. They need 9 power to station it, but they can do so thanks to Mechan Assembler. Dang. It's very good. They're all the way up to 7 off the life gain. Holding up double blue, they could have the bounce spell here. Okay, no, they're just going to keep using Pangolin. Oh, that does not get stopped by Biosynthetic Burst. I guess I can get 1 swing in with it by declaring the attack. Cryo Shatter will say destroy it, and then I Biosynthetic Burst in response. And now it's indestructible for the turn, and I hit for 6, putting them to 1. But then it still has a Cryo Shatter on in the future. Oh, and I don't hit for 6 because it still has -5, -0. Yeah, I don't hit for the 6. So we just need to untap Scoutlander here. But then the lab ship's a problem. Oh, man. Yeah, they are really stabilizing off all that card draw. We need some more action here to wrap this game up. I might have to wait for Biosynthetic Burst, because if I just like have an untapped 4/4 Scoutlander here, it just trades into Lab Ship anyway. So I think I have to wait so that the turn I attack with it, it's indestructible. I guess if I cast it during my turn, if I don't draw something insanely expensive, then that works. Yeah, so I can just untap it now, and then it's an indestructible swinger. They have to chump or take 4 and go to 3. I can do that, or I can save it to try to get the kill out of nowhere later. They're playing off the top now, but that assembler means almost any cards they play are going to be great. Could see Trample out of nowhere to Breacher being a win con here. I'm going to hold on the burst for now. Turbo Drone, sure. Man, that double assembler was so good here. They're so wide on the ground. And Pangolin's gotten so large off these extra robots as well that Breacher can't even like trample through with a burst. Alright, 3 flying swings is going to get me here. The lab ship is vigilant, but if they send that in, I'll burst it away. And they are playing around the burst, so they're probably not going to randomly die to trample here. Double land are our draws here. Attack with Breacher and Scoutlander. Could put the lab ship on the Scoutlander or just take it and then just like put everybody on the Breacher. It's the worst way that Breacher dies. Turbo Drone and 2/2/2s block it. It's only bad for me if they block Breacher with Turbo Drone and 2/2/2s and block Scoutlander with lab ship. In which case I would burst the Scoutlander to kill the lab ship. And then kill a Turbo Drone and a 2/2. Still have a couple Chumpers left, and they have no Flyers left. I think this is the attack both here. Problem is I'm pretty close to dead on the crackback. If they top deck removal after this, I think I will be dead in the sky. Oh, I've got the Reclaimer to chump too. I can chump Pangolin, even if they send that into the sky. Alright, if they drew straight gas here and they've got another trick, they definitely win this combat and then win this game. But if they don't have the trick here, we clear out that lab ship and try to get a 2-turn kill from there. With the Chumpers to try to win that race. No trick from our opponent. No bombard or anything there. They top deck the removal here. That is brutal because it also stops our Enclave. They kill this 4/4. They play a Power Depot. What on earth does that do? It's an artifact, so it's another 2/2 and a counter. Man, the synergy is wild. And it puts a +1/+1 counter on the next artifact creature they play. Oh no, if it dies, it puts a +1/+1 counter on a creature. Okay, so it's just mana, but it's an artifact. Do I have a Siege Ship impact in this deck? Maybe I'm not supposed to block with Reclaimer here. Wait, do I have a Siege Ship impact? I don't. I remember talking about it being quite decent, but then I drafted something else. Okay, I don't have... Since the Banishing Light is on the board, I don't have a way to blow up this Cryo Shatter. So I think this is our best chump blocker. Because if we hit like a Ouroboroid or something, these 1/1 tokens could be actually pretty valuable. Sure. But Reclaimer, as soon as it becomes tapped, it dies. So even if it becomes massive, it just doesn't matter. Good grief. Well, if they don't top deck removal or a flyer here, we still win. So let's see. Going for it. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm dead to a ton of burn if I don't also chump Assembler. In blue-red, I don't think there's a spell that's specifically like if your opponent has one creature left, kill it. So we'll double block. The only card I can think of like that is in black, and it's your opponent sacks a non-token creature, so even if they had specifically that, they could already kill Scoutlander, because my other creatures were just tokens anyway. Oh, close game one there. Close game one. It could have all come down to not playing around that counter unless they pay 2, so now that we know for sure that they have that, we can play around that a lot better in the future. That's the only instant we saw from their deck. A bunch of relics and blocks and stuff, lots of cheap artifacts. Cryo Shatter for removal. Interesting stuff. Okay. It's the great blue-red artifact build. The removal is Cryo Shatter and a counter spell that we've seen. Quick peek at the sideboard. We don't have anything for this. I believe we had an opportunity or two to take Destroy Target Artifact or Enchantment, but we ended up taking like Radiant Strike or a decent creature over those. Radiant Strike's nice in here. Oh, we just got the one. I believe we just run it back here. We are going to be on the draw, so we could cut a land here knowing that we're on the draw. That doesn't sound crazy to me, but what would I really play over the land anyway? Just a companion. Another breacher. I'm going to run it back here. Something really critical to keep in mind is that we did not see a single piece of instant speed interaction outside of the counterspell. So, if we have some plays that are like really good unless they have instant speed interaction, we can do those a little bit more freely here. Because we know they at least don't have a ton of it, even if they do have some that we just didn't see. Because I think we saw like half their deck there with the amount of card draw they played. This is an awkward opener. Double green and a colorless for 3 white spells in the opening hand. This is going to have to be a mulligan here, sadly. Nice as the seed ship is. Yeah. Also awkward, but a keep this time. 4 lands, a Galactic Wayfarer, and a Grove Strider is the hand here. Certainly can't mulligan that down to 5, even if it is a bit low on action. And pretty luckily for us, we top deck the Night Luminary, which helps the hand a lot, because now we get to go 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop, 5-drop. Night Luminary filling 2 slots on the mana curve, always great. Super dedicated artifact deck there, Inventor's Fair. I like it. I like it. That is some style points for sure. They got multiple super rare cards from the bonus sheet that are artifact centric as well. Because again, the bonus sheet is like 1 in every, 8 packs or something. And they got Inventor's Fair and the other land that's an artifact land, taps for any color if you have artifacts on board. That's some good stuff from our opponent. They are playing with spice in this Arena Open, that's for sure. If you saw our day one, you'll know I like the blue-red artifacts deck. I think it's really fun. So I'm a little jealous here, a little envious here. The fancy artifact-specific lands. Ooh, and then Possibility Technician, one of the strongest rares in the whole set. We didn't see any other Kavu from our opponent in game 1, so that's nice. But Technician by itself is already a draw 2. They warp it in, draw a card, they cast it, draw another card. Incredibly powerful, even if you never play another Kavu. And then obviously, if you do play another Kavu, you're drawing another card, then it's a 4-for-1 at this point. A 3-3 that drew you 3 extra cards. Yeah, Possibility Technician. Terrifying start here, because we have no interaction in this hand. So the Technician just gets to pop off and draw as many cards as possible. Warp in a Pinnacle Emissary, which... Oh, Inventor's Fair is a colorless land. It's not one of the ones that can then tap for colors if you have an artifact on board. This is the one that tutors for another artifact if they have Metalcraft. Well, there you go. Power Depot. That'll be their blue source. This one, mana only for artifacts, but they've done a very good job drafting basically only artifacts. So I don't expect that to matter. I can warp a worm and crack a lander, but I have all of the lands I will ever need already, so we'll just play the Night Luminary and get curving here. Play Night Luminary and then play the Grove Strider and then play the Germinating Worm. And hope that just pure beef can get there here, but the Emissary is a terrifying card in their deck, so not having any interaction in this hand is going to be really, really sketchy. It's going to allow them to get the full-on 3-for-1 from Technician, plus millions of 1/1 flyers to try to kill us with Emissary. Neither of these are reach creatures, even if they are really big. They're not quite all the way up into the sky, even though that's a reach-looking neck right there. It's over the trees. Come on, flavor judges, you gotta give me that one. You gotta let me block the 1/1s with that thing. All I'm saying is if there was a giant spider on this planet, the web would not go above the trees. This reach is higher than Giant Spider does, and Giant Spider has reach. Mechan Assembler has arrived, giving them a 2/2 on the ground for each artifact they play. Things are just getting scarier and scarier, and we are getting more and more mana, but we can't complain yet. We're not allowed to until I can't play something because I have so many lands, and currently I still am playing something for all of my mana each turn. But that 4/4 is a complete roadblock. They're going to get a 2/2 and a 1/1 flyer each turn. They're double raring us really hard. I don't see how we could possibly win this game, but I'm going to try my best. We already can't get attacks in. They're going to have a super wide army. And again, more card draw. Could just start activating Enclave every turn. Honestly, drawing another card here might be better than playing a 5/5. Just trying to find interaction to not get completely overwhelmed by Assembler plus Emissary. Possibility Technician's the play. They're going to draw another card, find a Plasma Bolt, and cast that as long as they control a Kavu. They're probably playing Pinnacle Emissary first, though, because they haven't played an artifact this turn, so they want to trigger Assembler. That'll make it so any other artifacts they play come with a 2/2. There's a risk to that. The risk is that if I kill Technician before they play this Plasma Bolt, then they can never play that Plasma Bolt unless they have more Kavu in their deck. But again, we've only seen Possibility Technician so far. They're going to take the risk here for the much better play right now, which I think is fair enough. Because honestly, like if I had removal here, I really have to consider using it on Mech and Assembler or Pinnacle Emissary anyway. So I think that's fair play from our opponent. Wow. I think I have to dig. I can crack a lander plus draw a card. Do I draw the card first? If I draw the card first, I can play anything that costs 3 or less, which includes Banishing Light, which would be a huge draw here. Oh, no, I can only play 2 or less. There's not a lot of 2-mana or less cards that matter a ton right now. I could play a Biosynthetic Burst or a Melt Strider's Resolve. Or Focus Fire. Okay, no. I think that's probably fine. I think I have to draw the card every single turn. Which means skipping out on the worm for now. Okay. Just take it all. I'm going to die super fast here. They can also get to tutor any artifact out of their deck with Inventor's Fair, but with the amount of cards they have access to from the Possibility Technician and just not flooding out, I doubt their best play is to just spend all of their mana to draw one card, even if it is the best card in their deck. Get triple rared, baby. Synthesizers here too. Don't worry about it, everybody. We will just... Game 3 will just not have to mulligan and have turn 4 Ouroboroid. And just auto-win. The only interaction we've seen from them is a counter unless you pay 2 and a Plasma Bolt, neither of which can kill Ouroboroid if I play around the counter. So if we just draw Ouroboroid in Game 3, being on the play and having an Ouroboroid, I think we can lock this in. If we don't, then we're going to have a match on our hands. But I think it's only fair if they draw all this in one game. Let's get one Ouroboroid game. This is not a hexproof trick. Would not save our creature there. Just trying to lethal us ASAP. If they attack with everything and hold no blockers up, they might have just scooped the game here, but I doubt they're going to go that hard. But if they do that, I have 13 on the crackback. Yeah, we are nowhere near a lethal crackback if they only attack with these. I don't even think it's worth burst killing a 2/2. I think we just take the damage and save the burst for potential trample trick. It's worth losing Luminary to kill the 2/2 though, and then just take 3 for this turn. That is more tempting, because like if they're going to hold plenty blockers up for it anyway. think that's fine. Two through 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. We got way more than 12 power on their board, so I do need, or I will need some blockers. Plasma Bolt the face. All right, they're going deep. Definitely going for the 2-turn kill. Yep, still 2 blockers up. Oh no, lab ship's not fully stationed yet. Breacher, you will not do it. Germinating Worm for the gain 2, I'm at 11. There's the smallest chance I don't die here. I have no way to hit for lethal. I can hit for 11 damage if they block nothing with Technician. I think I play Germinating Worm for the life gain and pray. I guess Lux Knight Breacher is actually bigger than Germinating Worm, so I could warp the Worm and play Breacher and still have Biosynthetic Burst up. 1 mana off from just hard casting both and having multiple blockers up. So, warp Breacher and Burst. If I live through the turn, I definitely kill them next turn, I think. I'm so tempted to burst here. It hits for 6, puts them to 7. Then if I like top deck another burst, that's my win con. But it's not affecting the board at all. It's just purely for life totals that I would play burst here. Basically have to top deck another burst to finish this game. But it feels like one of my best potential outs. We know they don't have a lot of removal that's going to make bursting matter protectively. Let's go for it. And they just hit me as hard as they can in the sky. And maybe I top deck another Biosynthetic Burst and win, but that's the only out. And that's, again, only if I don't die this turn. They're hitting for 6 off of Lab Ship and 2 landers, and they send somebody else in the sky as a 2/2, so they're hitting for 8 on board. If they have a second Plasma Bolt, that could kill me here. Or actually, Zookeeper Mechan can kill me. They could tap out and just buff a flyer. Yeah, they've already got me with Mechan, but I gained as much life as I could. All right. You got me. Well, I'm pretty sure we just saw their absolute magical Christmas land hand there. They had Emissary, Lab Ship, Technician. They had the Assembler still, 2 rare lands. Pretty massive blowout there. Which would be terrifying, but I think, like, we saw how things played out in game 1. We see their interaction here. They've got 1 lost in space. That is instant speed interaction to keep in mind. I think this game is winnable. We just need to draw, like, a similarly powerful hand for game 3. I mean, our game 1 hand was, like, just solid. It wasn't, like, insanely powerful. Like their game 2 hand. We just need to dodge that, basically. So we're back to being on the play. So I definitely don't want to cut a land here when we're not on the draw. And happy to run it back here. Game 3 of round number 1. 2 land openers, a little sketchy, but the warp to go with the 3 mana cards. If I draw any land for Scoutlander, we're there. This has huge, huge upside. We just top deck a single land in the first couple draw steps. And I think even if we hit it by turn 3, if they don't have like their mega banger hand, this is still a very strong one. But obviously drawing it within our first 2 draw steps would just be absolutely no punishment for keeping a 2-lander. Synthesizer land ship, or lab ship every single game. At least we hit our land draw. But that's rough. It's the operative to start stationing it. If I get 2 counters on Siege Ship right now, I can finish it off with a Warped Germinating Worm next turn. I can do the same with Scoutlander, but if I do Siege Ship, I can get huge cost reductions and just like insta-dump my hand out here. I feel like the potential just dump the whole hand is so strong with Siege Ship. I'm gonna try to get that going. Both colors. Zookeeper Mechan is the play. And a nutrient block. That's the double spell for operative. Get it to station the lab ship more easily. Lab ship up to 3. Are they just going to poke me for 3 here, or station up to 6? Poke me for 3 it is. Down to 18. So we know Siege Ship gets in here. If I play Thawbringer instead of Worm, I can have them both out. Whereas if I warp the Worm, then obviously I can't put the Worm out with the Siege Ship. So let's just do the double creature for the turn. Surveil. I think I ditched this land with this hand. It would let me have Radiant Strike immediately next turn. And I wouldn't have to play Scoutlander. Yeah, I could see just play a land, play Radiant Strike being really good next turn. Let's actually keep this, I suppose. Boom! Huge work from Siege Ship. We've even got the burst for all these beefy creatures. Biosynthetic burst on any of these 3 is really good. There's the Mechan Assembler. I think we want to kill that. Makes it a lot harder for them to get stable with a bunch of blockers. Like, as big as the lab ship is, it doesn't, like, give them another blocker every turn like Assembler does. It is a 4/4 that's immediately blocking, though, so it's tempting. It's also Vigilance, so it's hitting me back. They're at 16. This is a lot of damage. No more creatures in my hand. Could Radiant Strike Lab Ship attack all? It's a gain 3 as well. So that's 17 then. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 power. Let's go. I think if I had one more creature in this hand, I would be, like, unstoppable. But I still think I'm in a good spot here. Yeah, like if Scoutlander was just a 3-mana 3/3 creature. Oh. I don't have double green, so if they kill Siege Ship, that's a problem. But the only thing we've seen that can kill Siege Ship from them is the Lost in Space we saw 1 copy of. And we're not even, like, in massive trouble if they have that, because I have the Scoutlander too. We'll just have to play slower. Alright, they gain the life, go to 8. Sadly, Ouroboroid is a slight nombo with the Siege Ship, in that it won't put any counters on the board the turn we play it. Jeez, Technician again. Double rare game here. That is a Robot Pangolin, not a Cov. Or a Kavu, technically. Okay, there's the Plasma Bolts. Yeah, I can send in, put more stats on this board, and have a burst up at the same time. Easy choice. Keep as much stats out as I can. Clear out their blocker producer of the Mechan Assembler, and if they don't find a way to kill the flyer, they're already dead without this other nonsense. So they're digging. Cerebral Download it is. Their only out now is going to be Cryo Shatter for 1 blue mana. So that's what they're digging for. Look at the top card. If it's not Cryo Shatter, put it in the bottom. Or put it in the grave and then draw 3. I guess the very top card was Cryo Shatter. That's the only thing I think... The only thing that we've seen that would be a Surveil to the top. So the very first card they saw was perfect. Yeah. Alright. That's obviously frustrating, but we're still in a good spot here. Thanks to Ouroboroid. Ouroboroid. They could chump block Germinating Worm with the Mechan and block Ouroboroid with a 3/3 if I send both in. Jesus. Alright, well, they could also just die. That works too. Trample. Big green creatures and trample, baby. That is a victory in round number 1. Pretty scary one. Our opponent had a real nice blue-red deck. One of the weaker archetypes of one of the stronger builds of it I have seen. Several really powerful rares like the Possibility Technician as well as the Synthesizer Lab Ship. Multiple Mechan Assemblers to really get blockers all over the place. Just lacking a little bit on big removal for big beefy green creatures, but still enough to slow us down a little bit there against that Siege Ship. We had a really good hand there. Kind of makes up for how powerful their hand was in game number 2. And we get the victory overall, 2-1, heading into round number 2. Here we are on the play to start off game number 2. Got the Siege Ship again, or the Scoutlander ramp, but nothing to station it with yet. It's still both of our colors, good ramp, and reasonable spells if we draw the creatures for them, so I think I have to keep it. But it has flaws for sure. Spacecraft without a bunch of creatures is awkward. There's a Germinating Worm for the speed stationing. That's quite fun. If we get Siege Ship to 7... it's going to be awesome again. I'm tempted to lead with it, but the odds of us... there's nothing we can draw that'll fully station Siege Ship next turn anyway. So do I just play a creature to help station it right now, or do I just set up mana? I think I'm going to ramp here. Have 2 of both my colors, so anything we draw into is castable. Now every creature we play can just immediately get the Scoutlander towards being stationed. Sky Stinger! That can just trade into Scoutlander, which is annoying. I still feel like the play is to fully station the Scoutlander and just get that off the board and take the trade. Get it out of the way, gain a couple life, have a 3/3 ready. Alternatively, we play the Siege Ship and then go 5 counters on Siege Ship immediately with the Warp. But then I'm not playing Germinating Worm for free off of Siege Ship anyway. I would be playing Lux Knight Breacher after playing Coordinator next turn. But then it's getting a 4/5 flyer as soon as possible. Regardless of the ability, a 4/5 flyer breaking through that Sky Stinger is pretty huge. Green, blue, and red from our opponent. Splashing around. Base green, bunch of lander token style ramp deck. There's their Germinating Worm just to gain 2. Nothing to station with it. And then just a Stinger, sure. Looks good for me. 6 mana available. Just play a Germinating Worm and Seed Ship out the Breacher. Sure. I could get greedy too and just play Coordinator for now and have the Breacher be as big as possible when I play it. Sure. I do gain a couple life with Coordinator out here. Chump block from opponent. Oh my god, I have never read that card. It's just a trade. Which is fine. I clicked too fast. I meant the Coordinator Scoutlander. I thought I was clicking to main phase too. It's all falling apart. I clicked the wrong button. Alright, we gotta lock it in here. Had some fun commentary in round 1, but I gotta go lock-in mode for a second because that was a bad misclick. Okay. So I should have been on the Scoutlander line because I forgot about the +5/+0. So a little misplay there into a very bad misclick at the end of that turn. There's nothing to Radiant Strike anyway. So we go nice and wide here. Super big Reacher. I guess the Breacher getting counters from artifacts means that it's not any bigger for waiting till the Scoutlander station first. I think I'm trading Germinating Worm into Stinger. We have dumped pretty much our whole hand onto the board, so our opponent has a lot more cards left to cast than us, which is sketchy. But we have some huge power on this board. If we draw either of our indestructible tricks, those will be massive right now. Being able to kill the Stinger and trample some damage through is going to be really nice. Terra Botanist, some life gains, solid chunky blocker for the cost as well. There's the Cryo Shatter on the Scoutlander. Fair. Top deck is a land, which is not good. No targets for Radiant Strike. If we get the Blooming Stinger out of the way with our Germinating Worm, then that clears the path for Lux Knight Breacher to a certain extent. The alternative is to just sit here and turtle up. Double Indestructible Trick deck. I think I'm gonna turtle up. Because even if Worm trades into Stinger, then I still don't have great attacks because Breacher gets blocked by those and I only kill Germinating Worm. And then if they have any instants, it's very bad. Two cards left in their hand. The board is stable, and we're gaining 2 a turn, and they're not doing anything. So, yeah, as long as we're just both sitting here staring at each other, we are slowly getting ahead in life total, if nothing else. Just waiting for somebody to draw something scary like an Ouroboroid. For another threat is the draw. It's getting closer to wanting to attack, because if boom, kill that, next turn boom, kill that, then I get to send the 3/3 and the 3/2 in each turn. I do think there's enough board wipes. They're at 7 out of 8 mana for the deal for it, everybody, that maybe I'm holding on to Luminary, though, still. For right now. Just vibing. There's the 8th mana. Honestly, 4 damage to everybody might be better for us than them currently. So it's a top deck war. Our 2 huge win conditions here. We have 4 huge win conditions. Ouroboroid wins this game. A Stelly Reclaimer lets us attack with Scoutlander, bring it back, and that pushes us far enough ahead to win. With 8 power in the sky against no flying blockers. Or the 2 different Indestructible and Trample tricks. So we have 4 like auto win draws here. So I think it actually is right to just be chillin'. I forgot about Meltstrider's Resolve, but that kind of works too, unless they have instant speed interaction to counter it, which would be pretty great for them. It is a fight spell, not a bite spell, so I don't get to kill the Death Toucher with it. Unless I want to throw a Night Luminary under the bus. I think it's Resolve Worm onto their Worm. Then I can send the 3/3s in right now immediately. And then it's also less bad if they like Lost in Space the Germinating Worm than if they Lost in Space the Breacher. Cool. This looks good. No trades. Put a little more on this board. Now that we're breaking through the blockers and 1/1s and 3/2s are going to chip in as well. Tractor Beam the Worm. It has no abilities, so that's fine. Just gonna be stuck there tapped. They have the deal 4 to everybody. Their whole board is gone too, and then I just strike it, the spacecraft itself, so I'm just going all in now. Give them less time to top deck something. They are flooding the heck out. You do love to see that. They Death Touch one of the +1/+1 counter cards, the other one gets it and draws us a card. So they Death Touch the Breacher and chump the Luminary or let us draw a card off of it, either of which is good value for us. Okay, so we draw a card off Luminary. They are at 2. Super flooded over there. Okay, so they're green, blue, red. They cast like 5 spells the whole game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, they cast 6 spells, but what's that? 6 spells and 12 lands, twice as many lands as spells. Brutal game for our opponent. Yeah, I don't think we got a really good showing of their deck there. We can't really know what their best stuff is because they certainly didn't draw it. They have a Tractor Beam for interaction, Tractor Beam and Cryo Shatter, so we'll keep that in mind. Those are both sorcery speed pieces of interaction. We definitely need to keep in mind Sky Stinger's ability. If they actually drew spells that game, we very well could have lost due to that misplay of just not reading Sky Stinger. Like, it would have been a much better game had we led with Scoutlander sending in first and just taking the Scoutlander trade, then getting the 4/5 flyer. Although I guess because they ended up Cryo Shattering it, they would just end up Cryo Shattering the 4/5, so it actually would play pretty similarly, but it could have mattered a lot. it could have mattered a lot. So it's really important to actually know that that is how that plays. Yeah, we have very little information here. Let's just head into the next game. Well, now it is our turn to be flooded. We're on the draw. We know that we can cast anything we draw into. We know we have a Banishing Light for early interaction, and they seem to be a slower deck where we can afford a slightly slower hand here. If they have a way to blow up the Banishing Light, then the Reclaimer becomes very good. 5-lander is almost at like that forced mulligan level. I'd take the gamble on this, though. Every non-land draw on the whole deck is great because it's all castable. They're not fast enough. I think we're going to get super punished here. 2 lands in a row for the draws, so real bad luck there. Immediately on 7 lands. Some Divine Justice. We just flip these games right around the other direction. Okay. They have immediately cast more card quality than they did in the entirety of Game 1. Biomech and Engineer is the strongest uncommon in the whole set. Galactic Wayfarer, arguably the strongest common in the entire set. Just a absolutely incredible start compared to last game. Just 2 absolute bangers. And I'm super scared here. They're curving out 2-drop, 3-drop, both made lander tokens. At worst, they go up to 6 mana this turn. But if they have more threats, they play those instead. There's a Tenderfoot and crack 1 lander as the play. Here's our Tenderfoot, gain a couple life and pass. Down to 11. It's the Sky Stinger. Night Luminary's a little late, sadly. We just dropped the 5/5 down and hope they don't have the Tractor Beam here. Gain some life, so even if they do, it is slightly better than just playing the Reclaimer and having that get killed. They've got the Tractor Beam in the opener as well. One of 2 removal spells we saw, seeing like half their deck in game 1. And I guess that is Divine Justice, just the exact opposite of game 1 here. Still didn't see any bangers. I mean, well, we did. We saw Galactic Wayfarer and Biomech and Engineer. Banger early plays, but no crazy, scary late game stuff or like super, super good removal or anything. Is there any way to not die this turn? 4 life? I guess I just have to hardcast Luminary and pass. Yeah, that's like the one way. To not be dead on board, at least. We did actually like not get punished mega hard for this hand. Like obviously we didn't get the early plays, but plenty of spells after that. They just had a real nice curve out here. Stinger is just another threat, which is nice here. All right, one game of Magic in this round is gonna have been a game of Magic. Basically, they just flat out auto lose game 1. We kind of flat out auto lose game 2. Yeah. Guess we should have taken the mulligan, but I was not expecting them to have as many cheap cards as they did. Like, even if they're like a good teamer deck, there's a lot of great late game ramp stuff. So I figured we could be fine not playing too much early. And that really came back to bite us. They just went 2-3-4 curve. Let's go. I can't kill 2/3/3s here because then I just die to the 4 damage from Tenderfoot. So I have to kill 1 and chump. Or kill the 4/4 and chump and have 0 creatures left. I feel this is the best we've got. Good draw. Like, we've got a good hand here in the end, but they had a quick one anyway to take 0 damage next turn. No, I need 8 mana to play 2 blockers. And I need 3 blockers up. I have 1 right now. All right. Game 3. We will see who wins the one legitimate game of Magic for the round. All right, here we are on the play for the final game of this round. Unfortunately, a forced mulligan for this game. So we got a mulligan down to 6 here. Yeah, if this were a forest, it would be a very greedy keep, but I might do it with the Ouroboroid. I cannot justify it with a plains. Oh, Arena. This is a terrible 5. There's no white source even. All right. I guess our one chance was mulliganing in game 2. And at best, being on a 6-card hand against a good curve out from our opponent. This was completely not a game of Magic. I have to start with a 4-card hand. Or do nothing without a plains. There's literally 0 argument not to mulligan that 7 or 6. That's so disappointing. Jesus, man. Do I really go to 4? Because, like, let's say I do draw the plains. I guess if I draw the plains immediately, I have a plan here. If I go to 4... Oh, Lord. Humorous. Seven-card opener from our opponent, turn 2, Biomech and Engineer. We draw a double white spell. Got other cheap creatures to curve with it, too. We've found 1 white source now, turn 4. So I didn't get to warp the Luminary, but I do get it out now. If we find the second white for Hylia, Hylia gives us a chance of making up for being down some cards here. By giving us a chance at card draw, but not if they have 1 mana removal for the night. Because this 1/1 token, even with a counter, is not getting in and drawing us any cards against a 2/4 and a 2/3. That is frustratingly bad here. This 1/1 isn't doing anything on blocks, so we have to take the chance of Biosynthetic Burst plus Resolve to kill Engineer. That's just the world we live in. Leah puts the counter on herself. I can resolve the Crasher. Get this 4/4 off the board, but I'm a mana off. from like bursting this turn. I guess the burst doesn't matter unless I could burst and resolve to have a counter on both Aaliyah and the 1/1. I need them to be somehow out of removal here with their incredible opener with 5 more cards they can still play with. I'm at 12 life, I just gotta kill the biggest threat here. Which means no draw for me this turn. 12, am I chumping? I'd be chumping 2 damage. Still not chumping, we'll get 1 in. Yep, they've got the double removal, but it doesn't stop Halia's ability. If we can get a counter on the 1/1. Tenderfoot. No choice, kill the Tenderfoot or draw 1 card. Kill the Tenderfoot it is. And a bomb rare of all bomb rares here. Not quite that much. A bomb rare. It's not an insane bomb, it's just a bomb. He's still brutal. And then we somehow flood. Yeah, we're dead on board. It's rough. It's rough stuff. The only way that round could have gone different was mulliganing in game number 2. I do think that was probably not... It's probably too risky of a keep there. I was hoping based on their trio that they were a nice, grindy, slow ramp deck, but they really weren't. The most expensive card we saw them cast was 4 mana. In all 3 games by the end of it. Yeah, I think game 1 just gave me a really skewed perspective on their deck there. I mean, I should have assumed, like, we knew that they had a really bad hand game 1. So... yeah. I mean, their game 2 hand was honestly... Game 2 and game 3, they just had an absolute banger opener. So, our odds were quite low, even if we had a solid 6-card hand, because then we're down a card against a great opening hand like this. Game 2, they had I would argue, potentially even better opening hand than this one, even though they had the Harmonizer in the end. They had turn 2 Engineer, turn 3 Wayfarer, so they knew, like, the world was their oyster. Anything they drew was going to be super castable. Yeah, I don't know. Rough stuff. Our opponent had like a really unplayable hand for 1 game, and then we had a really unplayable hand for 2. What are you going to do? That is the way the cards fall there. The big decision point being, I think I need to mulligan more, but had I mulliganed, I still don't think we were likely to win that round. Arena really had it in for us on that. We are 1-1 heading into round number 3, and losing a round means that if we lose a single other round, we are out of contention for draft number 2. That'd be a brutal way to be out of contention. Just not really getting to play Magic for the loss. It wasn't even like we got outclassed, we just really got outdrawn. So, really crossing our fingers here we get to at least play all of the rest of these games of Magic as we head into round number 3 with absolutely no losses to give. Here we are on the play now for round number 3. We have no losses to give, so we gotta play our absolute heart out, hopefully draw pretty well. I think I'm gonna go for the Luminary with a Breacher coming up over the Tenderfoot, although the Tenderfoot plays better with the Resolve. I could go Tenderfoot now, and if we hit a land, we have Resolve plus Luminary. Brood Tender, 3 toughness. So much for Meltstrider's Resolve. That is a sturdy blocker. Miss a land drop here. We have to go for Luminary and pass then. Decode Transmissions, draw a couple cards, lose a couple life from our opponent. Missing a lot of land drops here. That is very bad. This is a hand I don't think you can make a particularly great argument for mulliganing, considering the opener had both of our colors in 3 plays at 2 mana or less with Tenderfoot, Luminary, and Resolve. We have just drawn quite poorly with it, finding another 5-drop and no lands. Not chump blocking a 2/3, so we gotta pass through here. At least game 2 of round 2, I think the 7-card hand that we kept in game 2 was objectively greedy. I do not think this was a greedy keep. I think you're supposed to keep this hand, but we're already down to 13 and we just now on turn 7 at this point, because we were on the play. On turn 7, we have found our 3rd land. So it is not looking particularly winnable. 1 more mana to Radiant Strike the Circuit Feeder, gain some life and get that out of here. Can lock that mana in with Wayfarer eventually. It gives me a beefy enough creature to resolve the 2/3 and at least stop it from attacking if they don't removal spell Wayfarer. Flash Whip Predator, just play a 5/7, fair enough. We do top deck the land for the life gain removal. Our options here are to kill the Circuit Feeder and gain some life. And I still have to deal with a Lash Whip Predator, that's a huge problem. Or I can Melt Strider's Resolve Brood Tender and play the Siege Ship. Playing the Siege Ship gets me working towards a 4/5 flyer to block their 4/4. And allows me to Radiant Strike Predator instead, because I don't have another good way to kill a 5/7. Could also just play a Night Luminary. I've got 2 Night Luminaries I'll be able to cast through these next few turns. And that will allow me to chump block the Predator several turns in a row. Could also play towards Lux Night Breacher being big enough to block the Predator. I think I have enough alternate ways to try to deal with Predator that I should strike the Circuit Feeder. But then they could just reanimate it with Brood Tender if I strike it right now. And then it like comes back and kills a 1/1 again and buffs a Predator for an extra damage. I guess I can't kill Circuit Feeder this turn. Yeah, I think I have to spend the turn killing Brood Tender first. 5 toughness is still not enough to block Predators, sadly. If I station Siege Ship at all, I'm dead to removal. But when you're this far behind, sometimes you have to go for those gambles. Because as far behind as we are, if they have removal, what, kill Wayfarer, we chump there, take for him at 5 life. Do I have any line to win from 5 life? Even if I don't technically die immediately? I really don't think so, because I have to tap out all my mana to kill one of the creatures. Removal's way too likely, though, I think. Green-black, they played 1 removal spell. Yeah. Well, now we get to find out if there is any line towards stable from here. Well, definitely not, if they had the trample trick too. Okay. Arena continues to just completely decide the winner there. I think that was 100% a keep. Just maximum punished for it. And that's magic for you. Much like the ending of last round. Game 3 of last round, 100% couldn't do that differently. You can't keep that 7 or 6. So we were forced to go down to that 5 at best. Opponent's deck is loaded with removal. So our indestructible tricks are great here, is what I'm seeing. We'll keep in mind Biosynthic Burst as an instant they can combat trick us with. Yeah, everything we've seen so far, pretty good deck from our opponent with all that removal. But nothing like super, super insane here. I think it's a pretty fair, pretty even matchup. Granted, we both draw well. We just really did not in that first game. Again, not really a sideboard for this matchup. And play my random dog here, I guess, to get a slightly lower curve. There's like one other thing I could be doing. Just playing a very bad doggy. All of the top end spells are so much better except for Breacher than the dog. So it's hard to justify. Just run it back. I've got a Lander from Wayfarer to get white mana. So I can have white mana untapped on turn 5. Because I don't crack the Lander till turn 4. So worst case scenario, I will have both of my colors and be able to cast everybody except Reclaimer. If I top deck a Plains in this hand, it is actually quite good. But there's still no interaction in it or anything. No indestructible tricks against all their removal. And it could go really poorly. Like, the worst case scenario is quite bad. Wayfarer on 3, just crack a Lander on 4. That's all I'm doing early. Go for a 6 here, and this is very reasonable. I think Ghostwriter is so strong it's worth just skipping a 1-drop here and playing Tenderfoot instead. Especially with Meltstrider's Resolve that really wants beef. Warp a Fate Maker for fun. So they might have a close encounter in their hand that they can now do for 2 mana. Gene Pollinator lets me play Grove Strider 1 turn earlier if I skip the +1/+1 counter here. Which I think Pollinator is strong enough to skip the +1/+1 counter here. Mono green opener, no black source from our opponent. There's Eulogist. I could just kill the Eulogist, but I could also play Grove Strider. I can't do both. I have to put a counter on Tenderfoot to kill Eulogist. I think I'm going big. Coming out, my friend, before they have the mana for the ward. Or the black mana in general. Still mono green, but they have the Predator now. It's a Thawbringer as the draw. I can play a Thawbringer and put a counter on Tenderfoot, but I can't quite get through Predator yet still. Just flood this board while they're stuck on mana. They got the 1 mana Meltstrider Resolve to get through ward. Nope, they have the close encounter with the 5 power Predator. Fair enough. Sea Chip's pretty bad as a draw this late against a 7 toughness reach creature. Man, yes, the Predator is really rude against our deck. Yeah, we're not going to resolve anybody. Why do they still have more green spells? That's so crazy. Even when our opponents are stuck on mana, they're not. Well, even when this opponent is stuck on mana, they're not. Okay, we can finally kill Predator next turn, maybe. But they have a potential 2-mana instant up. That's probably the indestructible trick to stop us from killing Predator. Fate Maker for trample and a counter on somebody. This is 100% the +1/+1 counter indestructible trick. I can't block here well, but then I also don't get to removal spell the Predator. Ooh, Focus Fire. That's a really exciting draw. Because I can Focus Fire around the indestructible trick now, and then still have that resolve. Just can't do both in one turn if I want to Warp Worm here, which I think I do. Get demolished, friend. There's the black source, though, so now the final 2 cards in hand, the 2 black spells are castable. Decode Transmissions, lose 2, draw 2. Germinating Worm for some life gain. So Eula just draws a card when Crasher dies now. Awkward stuff. I can play Germinating Worm, and then I can play Luminary for free off of Siege Ship, and have tons of blockers up. Is it crazy to resolve Eulogist instead of Crasher? I think because of their ability to draw cards off Eulogist, I don't think it's crazy. And this will be 7 toughness against the 5/5. They're at 7 against all this stuff. We're still in it. We get to make it to game 3 of round number 3. We'll be on the draw here. We have to win this game of Magic. Just gonna keep the deck as is. We've had a lot of mulligans due to really low mana hands, so I don't want to go to 16 lands just because I have another draw step towards hitting lands. Now let's just get in there, hope for the better draws this round, and see who gets to continue on to round number 4. Keepable opening hand, especially on the draw. We have Starport Security. Any land gives us Banishing Light. We have really powerful 5-drops. We have to draw lands to hit them. There's not no risk to this hand. In fact, I think it is slightly riskier than the 2-lander we kept in game 1 of this round. And that hand got completely mana screwed and demolished. But we're on the draw this time. The odds of just not drawing lands twice in a row. Beautiful. We find a forest for the first draw. And then a plane. So we're at 4 out of 5 mana. We just need 1 land draw by turn 5 to be playing with power this game. Sky Stinger will start things off for our opponent. And there's all the lands we need. Just slow that down without any proactive plays to make. Use social engineering for the 2/2 robot. Fair enough. And a Fate Maker to make it a 3/3. Cool. Already got our 5 lands now, so I'd have liked to draw any spell there. Somehow the 2 land opener is sort of flooding here, but can tap down their only blocker, put a counter on the security, and then guarantee that we draw a card here. Off Halia. Before they throw removal at Halia, that's almost definitely happening next turn. Reclaimer if they can clear Banish and Light out. Depressurize, very efficient removal for Halia. And then Fate Maker comes down. Play Grove Strider and Resolve, that feels pretty great to me. And Resolve is a great card with the Reclaimer, as it's something that can easily end up in our grave to be recast. In fact, I think I want to put it on the smaller card to make it more likely to end up in our grave. Although if I put it on Grove Strider, they're probably going to like vote out the Grove Strider anyway. Just destroy target creature. That's pretty close, actually, where we want to put this Resolve. I guess the other nice thing about putting it on the smaller creatures, like in the immediate future, it's also better. Because then if they do kill Grove Strider, they actually have like pretty significant blocks with a 2/4 against 3/3s. Two cards left in their hand here. There is a Decode Transmissions to dig for their vote outs. Ice Cave Crasher is not that. Grove Strider remains for now. Now I get to play Luminary and Tenderfoot. There's a slight argument to play Reclaimer because we get a flyer down that kills him in 3 swings. I think with the Grove Strider just sitting here getting bigger, already in a solid position on board. Just playing a couple threats I can keep juicing up over time. Lash Whip Predator. So pretty glad I didn't play Reclaimer since they're playing a gigantic Menace card anyway. Dang, the perfectly timed Depressurize right before I get the 3rd counter. Tragedy. Her biggest draw now, what we're really looking for is the +1/+1 trample trick again. That's just been a consistently premium draw, if we can find it. Flight Deck Coordinator, not so much. That's real good with those 2 3/3s. Got a flyer of their own now. Keep tapping a flyer now. Probably. It's the spell I've been looking for. Only makes one of my attacks particularly great. They'll draw 2 cards off this too. with the Eulogist. But I will get those off the board. It's better to just sit here and hold it. Just gonna sit here and hold it, and then try to hit them 3 times with Reclaimer. Scrapbot. Sure. They have no other spells in hand, so I know I can just go for a tap here. It is a 4-turn kill if they chump with Monoist. Because I don't want a Biosynthetic Burst against a deck with multiple vote outs. So they do get 1 Monoist chump at some point. We got a nice stable board here that's slowly winning the game if they don't draw anything, or even if they draw a removal spell thanks to Biosynthetic Burst. Send in the Monoist, fair. No Reclaimer chump, but they do gain 2 off of Germinating Worm. Put them to 11. Awkward. Still a 2-turn kill with Reclaimer if we tap all their blockers. I should probably have played around Virus Beetle. I will genuinely lose it if they top deck a Virus Beetle. I was just thinking, like, I probably just keep juicing Grove Strider. Opponent is ready and willing to go to 1. I hope that means they top deck vote out, because that would be the easiest win here. They're just tapped out. Oh! Oh, baby. 6 damage. Stressful games in this Arena Open, but we are 2-1 now. We're still in it. We've made it to the final boss of draft number 1, and it is a win or lose kind of event here. If we lose this next round, we do not get to go into another draft, but if we win, that is all the way to the money draft. Arena Open Day 2 draft number 2. So pretty exciting here, no matter what happens. But let's see how things go as we hop into the final round, the final boss of the Arena Open Day 2, draft number 1. Here we are on the play for the final round. This is a 2-land opener with a 4-drop and 2 5-drops. If there was any 2-lander we have to mulligan, it would be this one. If we draw like we did last game where I hit nothing but lands, this could be pretty good, but... Actually, if we hit literally nothing but lands... Okay, here's why I think we have to mulligan. If I hit nothing but lands, I'm not playing anything till turn 4. And if I hit the cheap spells, then I don't have the lands to play things out on curve, because I have to draw basically a land every turn to actually curve out here. And the bursts don't do anything until I have a creature out, which won't be till turn 4 if I specifically draw the lands that I need to cast the spells. So it's almost like any draw in the deck is bad in its own way, whereas lands mean I'm not playing early plays, but creatures or cheap plays means that I'm not getting to most of the hand. I think this is genuinely the worst 2-lander we've had. I think I need to mulligan. Oh god, and then a mono white one here. Bonder's Enclave has been an underperformer, just because of how awkward the man has been for us. It is greedy, but so tempting with Ouroboroid in hand to just keep turn 3 Coordinator and hope for the best here. A single green source could burst Coordinator and have a 4/4 on board to draw with Enclave. Does that make it, like, keep Ditch Grove Strider? Or do I have to go down to 5 cards? Going down to 5 is real rough. I think I'm going to keep Ditch Grove Strider here. Certainly pray a bit. It is always the worst when the most important decisions of the entire event are entirely mulligan decisions. And it's like, we can't just like open good opening hands and just not have to think there and just let it all come down to how well we play and how well we drafted. It's like, no, it's all in on mulligans, these games. Rough stuff. All right, bad draws for us. We have not drawn any lands by turn 4, so we're not doing anything at all. There's Swarm Color. 0 lands, 5 cards deep now. 5 draws deep, I should say. Keep pushing damage here because I have the Focus Fire to just kill the color if they do take the block. Yep. Plasma Bolts on Coordinator. Play a Mechan. So they look like a fine Rakdos deck here. That is statistically unlikely on the 9/7. Just get to crack the lander for value here. Yeah, this looks like another very fair matchup. We're just drawing booty again, where our best case scenario was to start with a 5-card hand for the legitimate best chance this game, based on how we drew with the 4-card hand. Man, Double Burst is so bad in this hand. Drawing into the second one of those. There's no way it's playing Reclaimer with no backup. But if I play Pollinator, it doesn't do any blocking anyway. So I just play a Reclaimer and let them kill it, I guess. Kill ship. Play a Pollinator and Focus Fire the Mechan if they have no removal left. Well, I guess I could Focus Fire the Landseeker if they have no removal left. That is the only potential chance of still being gear. But they probably have more removal in red-black. The bursts are theoretically really good in this matchup if we can actually cast spells. Unlike this game. Extra damage from Ardent. Ooh, did they draft the infinite combo? That would be absolutely hilarious. Peregrine Beckoner plus an infinite sack outlet would kill me here. Okay, they are not playing the infinite here. They're just stationing the kill ship to kill me. Fair enough. Super dead. Just not a game of Magic in the slightest there. Our best play, the best we could possibly do, is start with a 5-card hand and still just lose because we started with a 5-card hand. That is really how this Arena Open has been going. They are making it as hard as possible for me here. Yeah, this is a very average Rakdos deck. Like, they've got the good synergies, they built it well, but it's all the normal average stuff. Very fair matchup if we just draw decently. So we just got to draw decently the next two games. It's got to be exactly like how last round went if we want to have a chance here, because Arena completely stole that chance from us in game one. Again, even the best 5-card hand in this deck is quite unlikely to beat a solid curve out like that from our opponent because we're down so many cards. The mulligans have just been absolutely brutal today. Let's hop back in there. You never know. I will cut the Bonner's Enclave here because it's been so consistently bad just not being colored mana. But the issue with cutting it here is that we could always just immediately get hit with the exact opposite problem and then just flood out with no Enclave. We did win 1 or 2 games because we had an Enclave sitting around. I think just 1 game. But Enclave drew us a lot of cards in at least 1 game today to prevent the flood. But being colorless instead of colored mana has come up in much more than 1 game because of how often we have drawn that specifically and not very many lands. So we'll see. Maybe we should have just not been running Enclave the whole time. Certainly with the RNG of how we ended up drawing, a Plains would have been playing better the whole time. Game 2 of the final round here. This is not a great hand here, but it's one I don't think I can afford to mulligan. It has both of our colors. It has Seed Ship with the Germinating Worm to station it most of the way there. Draws into the Wayfarer, which is a great draw. Let's get that Wayfarer down now. Maybe station the Seed Ship without warping the worm so I can just get the worm out free. So like this turn I could play Pollinator and Seed Ship. Sure. So next turn I'm guaranteed to have it fully active. Spit out the worm for free and hardcast everything else. Make the most of all my mana. Just get super aggressive here. They've cast nothing till turn 4, so they probably have removal for Seed Ship, but I don't have any of my indestructible tricks here. So still just station the Seed Ship, move to combat. If they kill it when we go to combat, we play a main phase 2 Germinating Worm, I think. Thanks to having Pollinator up for mana still. This is probably like Gravkill or something here. Yep, real nice to have in the opening hand against the Seed Ship. Five mana from our opponent. There's a Land Seeker. We got a ton of ways to kill that, and they only have a single black mana up, which shouldn't be able to protect it. Coordinator. Resolve off of Coordinator here. Let me double check. 1 mana black instance in this set. Dark Endurance is the only one, and that only works on a blocking creature, so they have nothing. Unless it's off the bonus sheet, I guess. Give me a break. Fashionably late. Biosynthetic Burst. Guess we could have gone Scoutlander removal spell to play around the board wipe there. That's about it. Doing that instead of the 3/3 for the turn. Luminary is a good draw. Post board wipe here. I'll maximize the number of creatures I get out of it. The Scoutlander kills them in 2 swings, and I have the burst to protect it. So we still have a chance here, even through the incredible board wipe of 0 Point Ballad. Peregrine Beckoner, sure. I'm at 24, we'll take that. Come on, Scoutlander, I believe in you. They got 1 turn to kill this. Or play a non-artifact reach or flying creature. Has to be exile. That does not exile. We play burst. They go to combat to go +1/+1. Oh, they're just going to scoop anyway. Oh, yeah, they are dead. I was going to say they could go to combat and give +1/+0, then they have 7 power, and they can station this, and they have the blocker for Scoutlander. The part I wasn't thinking about that is that then I just kill them with the ground troops if I attack all. Oh my god. Thought we got 0 Point Balladed out of that game. Well, now we can write down 0 Point Ballad. That is the card that puts their deck over the top. From an average Rakdos deck to a great one. 0 Point Ballad can just auto-win. Everything else was the normal stuff. So we're going to have to beat them on the draw here for this final game, but what else is new? We did that last round. Yeah, I mean, we've won almost every single game where we've just played a land and a spell every turn, so granted we get reasonable draws here. We should have a great time. Also, I think only drawn Ouroboroid once, so maybe our luck can catch up to us here in a good way and we finally get like a big Ouroboroid win. Because I think the one time we did draw, we didn't even really use it as far as I remember. Like, I put it out with Siege Ship, but I think I already was winning without it. We'll find out. It all comes down to this. This final game of Magic determines whether or not we make it to the Arena Open Day 2, draft number 2 for Edge of Eternities. Most reasonable opening hand we've had in a long time. I will certainly keep that. Can't play a 3-drop on turn 2 with Pollinator because it doesn't have other cards to help make mana. I would be tapping a land to get a mana, which is already the thing without the Pollinator. That's fine. I don't think this hand cares about the Pollinator too much with what it currently has in it. Like right now we're just going 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop. Pollinator doesn't fit into any of that. There's Turbo Drone from our opponent. That's a super filler card. Happy to see that. Gain a little bit of life. Get a little bit of Surveil and pass. So I need to stop drawing lands. Focus Fire's not a land. That's a solid one. You can gain some life, draw a card. We get to start beating down here. I think I'd rather throw Focus Fire at this board before the Biosynthetic Burst. Since the Biosynthetic Burst can play around a bunch of other stuff. Okay, cool, to just bounce off each other. That's fine then. I don't think I need to spend Focus Fire yet at that point. If they're not trying to kill somebody. Starforge is an incredible land. If they're ever flooded out, they get a 2/2 every single turn, which makes it really hard to get there on the ground. Sadly, that still counts as excess damage, so they do get the lander. Nothing for Reclaimer, but it is a flyer. I think that's still just a play here. Just slam that thing down immediately. They've spent 1 removal spell so far. 2, actually. They've already spent a plunge and a bolt, so slightly less likely they can kill Reclaimer. Although the bolt wouldn't have killed Reclaimer either, but still, it's 2 removal spells down total. What are you gonna do? I really don't think there was any argument to not play the flyer there, even though they could have 0-point Ballad. Because of the Starforge, they can't not put more creatures out. I'm just going to get double rared here. I don't think there's any way to beat Ballad plus Starforge. If I don't keep committing to the board, Starforge makes it impossible to get damage in, and if I do, 0-point Ballad wins the game. What a combo. Play around Virus Beetle here and keep an extra land in our hand. Can't believe they had Ballad in the opener twice in a row. Nope, just the Floodmaster. Zero-point Ballad plus Starforge is just egregious. There's literally just not counterplay. Like, I'm going through it in my head. I'm like, what happens if we don't play the flyer? Like, they just keep activating Starforge until we do. And we don't break through. Plus, if I did wait for the flyer, they still had the kill ship after the dust settled. There's no draws in the whole deck that win it from here. Our opponent gets to ballot us twice. We don't get the Ouroboroid anybody, like a single time, basically. In a single round, our opponent has balloted more than we've Ouroboroided in all 4 of our rounds. That's magic, baby. Just in case you thought we had any chance of winning holding on to the flyer, they make sure we flood out as well. That was a really disappointing Arena Open. I mean, we got great value here, up in gems for sure. 2 and 2, but one single win off of making it to day 2, draft number 2, and having almost, I think literally every single loss was just really bad luck. We never got to Ouroboroid anything out, and that's the strongest thing in our deck. I mean, I had it on board in a single game where I was already winning. Yeah, a lot went wrong there. We had to mulligan a whole bunch. Even post-mulligan, we had really bad land draws. We lost the majority of our games due to mana issues, and the other games just due to mega bombs. Games that we probably could have beaten one bomb, but not double bomb. Our opponent going the land that spits out 2/2 robots every turn and the board wipe, like, it's not happening there. They had backup removal if I did hold on to the flyer to just kill that and leave us with our much less impactful creature. I think no matter how we play that, that's not winnable. I think the only winnable game that we ended up losing in a round where it mattered was our second game of round number 2. I think there was just one greedy keep of keeping the 5-lander for round 2. Game 2 of round 2. That maybe a perfect 6-card hand could get there. Because they had a really good start there, even if we took the mulligan. In that game, they had the 2-mana 2/2 that makes a lander and has a mana sink ability. And then on turn 3, they played the 3-mana 3/3 that makes a lander. And then turn 4, they played another 2/2 and cracked a lander. They had an excellent start there, even if we had a good 6-card hand. That would have been a rough one to try to win, but it would have played out better than our 5-land keep. I think that was pretty greedy, because like with 5-landers, anything you draw, any single land you draw is flood no matter what, and you're still likely to draw lands at some point. So we're basically guaranteed to flood at some point if we keep a 5-lander. Yeah, I should have mulliganed in that one, and maybe we could have won it from there. That is what we can think about here. The most important decisions of this entire draft were definitely mulligan decisions. We were put into super tough mulligan decisions in almost every game. It's just a really not fun, really anxiety-inducing kind of position when those are all the decisions you have to make, are just a bunch of rough hands that could go wrong in a multitude of different ways, and you have to try to decide which way are things more likely to go wrong. Am I more likely to not get the right lands if I keep this, or am I more likely to lose being down several cards by mulliganing down to like 5? We were in positions where it was debatable to even mull to 4 in one of those games. Yeah. I guess that's the big point of this Arena Open, is just getting better at mulligan decisions is the thing that we can work on here to have a better chance in the future. Mulligan decisions are so difficult, though, because they're so nebulous. They are always dependent on what you end up drawing. So you have to be really, really aware of the exact odds of specific lands of specific colors versus specifically cheap spells versus, there's so many different variables. It's so high variance. And then you could always make mulligan decisions that are technically statistically correct based on what you're likely to draw, and then just unlikely things happen and you end up drawing the wrong kind of cards. Say, I have a 2-lander with a couple 2-drops and a resolve, and I have 2 5-drops in the hand already. I can be like, well, I'm pretty likely to just draw more cheap spells because I don't have that many 5-drops, and then I could just draw Grove Strider and Hylia. Like, that kind of stuff can happen too. Even though that would probably be a reasonable keep, 2 of these, that, and a 2-lander. Difficult stuff. Mulligans being the big thing of the game to work on. But that'll do it for us. A disappointing ending here. The other thing we could have done, again, because of just how bad the land draws were very consistently, probably, again, another nebulous thing that really, it all depends on how you end up drawing. It's really easy to say in hindsight that a Plains would have been better than Bonder's Enclave, but I think there was an argument for Plains over Bonder's Enclave even with no hindsight, and certainly the way that we drew, another colored source would have been much better than Bonder's Enclave in all but one of those games of Magic. So that was the other thing, just like one deck building decision. I think that mattered a lot there. I don't think the Chrome Companions really would have mattered in almost any of those games. Yeah, I could have curved out a little better in some games, but overall the power level's higher without them. That was another deck building thing that could have gone differently, but I think that's it. I don't think Scout the Savers, or Scout for Survivors, or another Breacher, or Nutrient Block, or Curiosity, or Torpedo really has any impact on how things went. It's mainly maybe Chrome Companion and Curve more, but that's another thing I don't think affects any of those games. Yeah, I'm rambling now. This is already a very long video. It's a 4 rounds of best of 3 Magic. We had to play all 3 games in basically every single round, so super long stuff. We gotta end it off there. Sadly, no Arena Open Day 2 draft number 2. Super disappointing, especially considering that it was just a whole lot of mulligan decisions that I don't particularly enjoy having to make, but it is what it is. 2-2 it'll be for the Edge of Eternities Arena Open Day 2 draft number 1. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it and you're interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send us more in the recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.